Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Dr. Dawn Michael, and for all of you that are new subscribers, welcome, and for those of you who watch my videos on a regular basis, welcome back. Please remember to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so, and of course leave your comment. Today I'm going to bluntly talk about a subject matter that many men actually come to counseling and ask me about. I get email questions on it, and so I know there's variance in what I'm talking about, but I'm basically going to be speaking to the majority of men who want to know how they can have better intimacy with their wives, or quote unquote, have more sex with their wives. And there really is something to this, because as relationships happen and people are married, they end up having kids, they have jobs, they have other responsibilities in their lives. The amount of sex that couples have decreases over time, and this is a fact. Now, most of the time, the men are wanting to have sex more than the women are wanting to have sex. And oftentimes it gets to a point where the men sometimes are even begging their wives to have sex, or tiptoeing around and doing certain things so that they can figure out when they're going to be intimate with their wives. And sometimes it even comes off where it turns into this relationship where he's asking, she's avoiding, she's coming up with excuses, he's getting frustrated, and then they end up coming to counseling and we work through some of these problems. But I'm going to give guys a tip before you even have to come in and talk to a counselor. Now, I'm not going to say this works for everyone, but this does work for a fairly large majority of people that are in this situation. And I'm going to say right off the bat, men and women are different. They function differently, they think differently, and they certainly think differently when it comes to sex. It's not that women don't enjoy sex or want to have sex, but they certainly don't think about it as often as men, and they go about it differently. Where a man really derives a lot of his intimacy and closeness from his wife in the bedroom, having sexual intimacy with her, that's not the case for women. Many times women derive their closeness and the feeling of intimacy with their husbands outside the bedroom. And in fact, the more that they get this outside the bedroom, the more apt that they want to be intimate with their husband inside the bedroom. And this is pretty consistent. So I'm going to put it in these terms so that men can understand. Let's say that for you or for your wife, sex means that you have a date night together. Sex means that you're hugging and kissing outside the bedroom. Sex for her means that you're listening to her or doing little things for her, that you're telling her that you love her, telling her that she's beautiful. All of these things are actually sexual to her. And for a guy, what's sexual for him is that his wife is desiring him, that maybe sometimes she's initiating sex with him, that she's excited to be with him sexually, that it's consistent. A lot of men talk about how their sex lives are not consistent, and they're wondering when is the next time they're going to have sex with their wives. Some guys even talk about that they try to approach their wife outside the bedroom, but what happens is she will either push him away or maybe she doesn't approach him. And I will tell you right now, that problem will end when a husband and wife talk and he says to her, when I approach you outside the bedroom and I give you a hug, I give you a kiss, it doesn't mean I want to have sex with you, nor is it going to lead to sex. And I can guarantee you, if you tell that to your wife, you will have much more affection with her outside the bedroom. She will have it with you, and she most likely will initiate it. Because women oftentimes say, I ask them point blankly, your husband's coming up to you and he's giving you a kiss, or he's wanting you to be affectionate with him outside the bedroom, and you're not doing it. And many times they'll say, well, that is an invitation to him that I want to have sex, and I don't want to have sex. I just want to be touched or kissed or hold hands or be affectionate without the pressure of having sex, because I may not be in the mood, or there's other things that are going on, but I still value the closeness. And this is something that both men and women do value. They do value the holding hands, the hugging, the touching, and the kissing outside the bedroom. That's non-sexual. It just seems that it gets confused over time, where if sex becomes an issue in the marriage and it's not consistent, and a husband may not know when he's having sex with his wife, then all of the touching and everything becomes a cue, or maybe a way of possibly having sex. So I am going to take that situation and eliminate it. And that is going to help the two of you so that you can try this intimacy. And that will be, again, that the couple sits down and says, the touching, the hugging, the kissing outside the bedroom is not leading to sex. Okay? I'll get to the sex part after this. So that you let her know every time you touch her, or she can feel free to touch you without feeling like it's going to lead to sex. It will happen more often. Every time I've gone over this exercise with clients in my office, the result is that they become more affectionate outside the bedroom. Once that happens on a consistent basis, then women are more apt to want to have sex. Okay? So how you work this out is the two of you sit down and then you come up with a sex date once a week that the two of you are going to be intimate with each other. You write that sex date down, and that eliminates the wondering when you're going to have sex, how often you're going to have sex, and who's initiating the sex, because you both are being responsible for taking turns initiating sex once a week. That takes away this idea that when you're affectionate outside the bedroom, it's going to lead to sex. So that's one way that, guys, you can have more consistent sex with your wife, is if you kind of follow this program. Another thing is date night. Date night is so important. Not sex night, that's a different thing, but an actual date night where you start dating your wife again. And women like it when their guy puts the time aside to take them out on a date. And on this date, you're not talking about the kids, you're not talking about work, you're focusing on each other, and you're having fun with each other. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to be an expensive date. You don't even have to spend money on it. You could go on a picnic. You could, go for a special hike somewhere. Or you can go for a sunset walk. It's just a matter it's just that you are prioritizing and putting this time aside so that each of you can enjoy each other's company. Think back to when you were dating. I mean, you went on date nights. How would you have gotten together? How would you have known each other if you hadn't put time aside to go on dates, have fun, and spend time with each other? And so if that isn't continuing in your relationship, then that's a problem, because you're not putting your relationship first, and your relationship is no longer a priority. And couples really need to take that into account if you're going to have this long-lasting relationship, is that you put the energy and effort into having date nights, having fun, and even for some couples, getting to know each other again. Oftentimes, even on a date night, I've heard, if someone gets together and does that, they'll say, oh, we're bringing this up from the past, or it was ruined because of that. Well, that's one of the rules you talk about, is that you're not going to bring up past events, that you're literally going to start a new chapter in your marriage where you're talking about things that you want to do in the future. You're going over ideas. You're getting to know each other once again, what each other likes. If you're with someone for 10, 20 years, there are certain things about your spouse that you really don't know because they probably haven't shared everything with you, or they may not have even taken the time to realize how much they've changed since they met you 20 years ago, and possibly starting a new chapter in your marriage where you try to put some of the baggage behind and put your first good step forward and date each other again like you used to do when you were younger. These are all really important things to not only having a good relationship, but also being intimate again. Because your wife is not going to want to be intimate with you on a regular basis if she's feeling like A, she doesn't really know you that well anymore, B, you're not putting the time into dating her, and C, if you don't have that affectionate bond outside the bedroom. Women really need to have that before they feel safe, they feel that they can let go, and that they can have an enjoyable time having sex with their husband. This is like basic when it comes to men and women and how they feel about having sex. And so this is really important for a guy to understand. If the goal is to up the sex with your wife, you really need to go through some of these things. And this is not a bad thing, wanting to have sex with your wife. This is normal and natural, and guys who want to have regular sex with their wives, sometimes if their wife's not into it, they'll make their husband feel bad or that he wants too much from them, too much from her. And that's also something that needs to be addressed, because I have that when I talk to couples in my office as well, is that you get married and you choose to be with somebody and you choose to be each other's sex partners as well. And so if you let that slide or you don't work on that part of it, that's not fair. You can't just all of a sudden say, hey, I'm not feeling intimate, I'm not feeling sexy, I don't feel desire anymore, and therefore you shouldn't feel it either. That's not the way it works. If that happens to be a problem for you, then you definitely need to get some help and talk about it, because if one person is wanting it and the other person is not, and this is a constant tension in your marriage, that's not healthy for the marriage. So I'm going to possibly do a part 2 on this video if I get some good comments and people give me a thumbs up and they seem like they want to get some more helpful tips. I'll be more than happy to do a part 2 on this. I have a ton more information. And also from the comments, it can help me kind of talk about maybe the direction that some of you want to go in or need some help. So as you know, I believe everyone deserves to have a healthy sex life, and so do you. Make it a great day.